Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Kamber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Kamber with two great guests who positively impact our community. Today I welcome Lions Heart Teen Volunteers and Leaders Executive Director Cindy Williams and one of its board members, Nelma Maddox, who is also chapter president. Lions Heart is a nonprofit organization founded in 2004 to provide a platform for teens who want to volunteer in their communities. Thank you, Cindy and Nelma, for being on Impact OC.
Thank you so much, Dawn, for having us here today.
It's an honor to be here.
Cindy, please explain the story behind Lions Heart's creation, including its name, and talk about its structure.
Absolutely. Lions Heart was founded a little over almost 21 years ago, and our founder's name is Terry Corwin, and she was driving home one day from a family vacation with her son Spencer in the car, and they were just discussing different ways that they could make an impact within the community. There weren't any organizations around at the time where they could go out and do something that the boys could do. There was other organizations that the girls were involved in, and there was Boy Scouts, and they wanted to kind of just venture on their own and do something different. And that's really how it established, was in this car ride home. She asked her son, Spencer, what's something we could do? And as they got through the end of that car ride, they decided their first volunteer opportunity would be developing like hygiene kits, and they were going to send those to an orphanage in Mexico. And that's how Lions Heart got started.
How did the name come about?
The name came about with Terry sat down with one of her friends and said, we got to come up with a name and a title and a theme, and lion for being strong and courageous, and the heart for just being out there and to give and to serve.
What's the structure?
The structure of our organization is, so we're nationwide. We have over 4,000 members, and anyone can join Lions Heart. It started off originally as just for boys, and now there's boys groups, there's girls groups, there's mixed groups. You can sign up as an individual member, and you can also sign up as a group member.
What are the requirements?
The requirements are grades 6th through 12th. You start off at 6th through 12th grade. And our group members start forming at 3 or more will form a group. We also have chapters within our organization.
Nelma, what are some of the volunteer opportunities for teens, and how do you learn about the opportunities?
So there's a variety, and it's very vast. You can do beach cleanups, that's popular. You can also work at pet shelters. Some of our boys' favorites are OC food banks and whatnot. So it really kind of stirs whatever the passion is. How you find out about the opportunities is by looking on the website or through your app. You get regular emails sent to you, and you can imagine sixth graders kind of have to have their parents guide them a little bit through that, but as they're getting older, they start to pick and choose their own passions.
Now, your boy was involved in the organization.
Yeah, quite a bit. He started in 6th grade. He had the opportunity to do it that long. He has over 600 hours of service under his belt, and I'm convinced that it really was the separator for him this year applying to college that got him on some of the acceptances that he was able to achieve.
Explain his process of being in the organization.
Well, you can imagine when somebody's in 6th grade, they don't necessarily know that they want to volunteer. That sort of was something that I came about that I wanted to do for him and show through example. And it just so happened that Miracles for Kids is a local Orange County nonprofit as well, and they specialize in patients who are chronically ill or have fatal disease, unfortunately. And one Christmas, my son and I were able to bring a turkey, a ham, other canned foods and goods, and then toys for this family, and that was it for him. He had one tear that went down his eye, and he said, "We're doing that every year."
And Cindy, I bet you see that among other children who are involved in the organization.
Absolutely. It's just a privilege to go out there. As I was kind of sharing with you before, you see someone at a young age and they're out there serving. For the first time, they're just so nervous and they don't know what it's going to feel like and what it's going to be like. But once you get out there and the first time you serve somebody food, or you bring them a blanket, or you pet that dog or cat in the shelter that needs a little bit more love, you see what an impact it is, not just for yourself, but within your community.
How does volunteering contribute to leadership skills?
I think it's probably one of the most impactful leadership skills, because you are out there serving others, but you have empathy and you have acknowledgement. You have core skills of just being able to be a group leader. And something interesting in our group, and Nelma could probably expand on this, the leadership skills within each group. We've got a president, and then we've got a historian. We've got people who are having those leadership skills within their group if they are not an individual member. And I think it just really lets them kind of play off of one each other and encourage one another to have those opportunities.
We'll talk about the group situation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think what attracted me to it was that the boys could learn about Robert's Rules of Order and how a meeting is conducted. Normally in school, you don't get that opportunity unless you're an ASB, but Lion's Heart provides that, and that's what I love about the foundation of it, is that it teaches those leadership skills gradually. It's more of an organic process, if you will, and they don't necessarily even know what a president does or what a vice president does at that age, but they sort of come into it on their own. One of the other unique things about Lion's Heart is they have a youth board. We've met some spectacular human beings. They astound you, the way that they answer questions, the way that their stage presence. They're just leaders in their own right. It's almost as if they're born that way, but I actually do believe that those are skills that are developed through the types of activities that Lion's Heart offers.
Do they meet somewhere and then go off to their volunteer opportunities?
It depends on if they're a group. Sometimes they go out in groups and they'll do, for example, like a beach cleanup. They'll go as a group, whoever can attend, and they'll go clean up at the local beach. Sometimes they do it individually. Just depends. They can do it from home. They get to pick their own volunteer opportunities as long as they fit in our parameters.
But is it on a steady basis that they're volunteering?
I would say the majority of our members volunteer on a steady basis.
Yes.
And what would that be? Weekly, monthly?
It varies. It's about 10 hours a week, I would say, because one of the minimum requirements is that you have to do 25 hours per year in order to kind of maintain that membership. And we have that out there so that you are actively volunteering in your community and making a difference. And you find that some kids, teens, they veer towards, they sort of are, attracted, they have an affinity for certain volunteer places. So,
well, with that, what types of volunteer opportunities do the younger people go for and then the teenagers go for?
That's a good question. Cindy, you want to take that one first?
From my experience, I had both of my older boys went through Lion's Heart, and they just gravitated to helping out with youth sports. They love to volunteer and help out, whether it be on a baseball field or a track meet. But then they kind of switched from that a little bit, and One Has a Heart, for animals. If you get involved in something and you see people on a weekly basis, or you're, volunteering at the senior center, you have a musical talent and you want to go sit there and play the piano, or someone else is helping someone by bringing flowers or writing notes and encouragement. The great thing is these are not volunteer opportunities that are mandatory you get to pick and choose. And that's what's really beneficial and sets us apart.
Now, I know many schools require community service. I'd like to know, what is the difference between community service and what isn't community service?
Yeah, that's a great question, too. Community service is really when you're doing something for non-for-profit, or, schools kind of fall into that category. But what isn't is when it's for a family business per se, or for a for-profit, if the person is benefiting in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know if I answered that question well enough, but
no, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Now, Nelma, understand that there are awards that volunteers can earn. What are they, and what's the significance of them?
Yeah, they're really unique, and that's one of the other things that attracted us to it, is it's based on the hours that you do provide. So there's 25, 50, 75, and 100, and you find that, children, because they are also in sports at the same time, the fact that they find these hours to devote to the community is also in and of itself pretty impressive. There are other awards that Lion's Heart has. One of them is called the Toby Award, and it's thinking of others beyond yourself. And my son was a recipient of that. You have to be nominated by a few organizations or the chapter, not the chapter president, but the class coordinator. You have to get recognized. You can get recognized as a group, actually, that is doing, above and beyond work.
Amazing. And since it's a nationwide group, do they then have like a national award?
Well, we have there's different categories, and it's based on age and volunteer and service awards. There wasn't like one award that's national. I would say it's a national award based upon the merit of service hours that you've done and your age.
So therefore, when they earn that award, what goes on in their minds?
You just handed them out the other day, which was wonderful to see.
I just handed them out, and I think there's just something about it that they're recognized. There's something to the recognition piece, and I tried to make it special in terms of doing it in front of their peers so that their peers could hear about what were the volunteer opportunities that they were the most passionate about, and what sort of developed them into the seniors that they are today. And there was a variety. I mean, we'd had one that was really impressive. We had somebody who just joined for the last year, and he was a recipient of a Marine scholarship. So he'll be going to college and won't pay a dime, and then will go through whatever professional development he wants to after, all paid through the Marines.
Each of you must have stories of people you know who've been in the program. Nelma, I know your son was in it. Why don't you tell us about some other people?
Yeah, let me see. I'd like to talk a little bit about, I'll just say his first name, Luke, and it's somebody that I've also watched. He's an original, what do we call those?
Founders?
Golden Lions.
Golden Lions.
They're Golden Lions.
That's
it's really
cute.
great. So they've been there since day one. And Luke in particular is attended Servite, as you guys know. We're local Orange County. But played football, rugby. He's a track star. He's a state champion for track. But Lion's Heart, he sort of vacillated giving, and but always gave consistently, hours-wise. But that's the type of human that is formed through Lion's Heart. He really, truly has a Lion's Heart. And he was also a recipient of the Toby Award.
And Cindy, what stories can you share?
Well, one that came to my mind, and I shared this the other day during one of our meetings, is when my middle son first started with Lion's Heart. He went with his group, and I drove him in the minivan, and they all piled in there, and they're like, do we really have to stay for 2 hours? And I said, yeah, you do. That's what we signed up for. And it was working in a big warehouse there where the OC Park, or where the balloon is, in one of the hangars. And it was Samaritan's Purse and filling up the shoe boxes for Operation Christmas Child. And they're like, we have to stand here and sort through this stuff? Fast forward, 2 hours go by. They borrowed someone else's phone and said, Mom, this is amazing. We want to stay. Can you bring us lunch? And they stayed, brought him pizza, and another mom picked him up. They served for over 6 hours that day and wanted to do it the next day. And it was just that they got in there and they were experiencing that. And you fast forward that life-changing experience for him to being up at UCLA playing football and being there with his teammates and being out there asking for donations for bone cancer and doing swabs. And he just had that heart for serving and giving back, that he brought that through college and now is in his adulthood. And it's pretty miraculous to see when you see them, change and grow up. It's wonderful. And there's stories after stories. And when you talk with alumni and parents who've been part of it, and crossing paths with people who've been chapter presidents or class coordinators from the past, it's wonderful to see what an impact it's made.
What kind of professions have they gone into after experiencing Lion's Heart?
Gosh, the ones I know, I know a couple friends who are out there. Some are getting their law degree. I have a couple that I know who are nurses, people who are also working for other nonprofits here locally. And since we're nationwide, we've had a lot of families that have moved and, gone to colleges or started new chapters. And now we're going to be seeing more and more those who are involved in Lion's Heart having kids, and those kids going to be serving. And that's going to be really special.
What do parents tell you about Lion's Heart?
Parents tell me all the time, and if I'm wearing my shirt around or if I'm out in the community, that they thank me if they've seen us around. I had my Lion's Heart sweatshirt on the other day in my community, and someone's like, I saw a bunch of kids picking up trash here down on the trail the other day. They're like, thank you for doing that. And there's people who, we just were at an event just recently as a fundraiser, and we're walking by and people stopped and they're like, we are part of Lion's Heart. I love that organization. Thank you so much. So it is, I wish more people knew about Lion's Heart, because once you get involved, it is amazing. It's wonderful. And I'm so proud to be part of the organization.
Yeah.
How is it funded?
So we have a modest annual membership fee, but it's donations, and we rely heavily on grants. But really, it is just through that increasing membership, because as you know, seniors are out, and then we've got to rely on those sixth graders coming in. So.
And the types of activities sixth graders do as opposed to the older kids, what would they be?
I think it just varies upon the group or the individual. There's some unique, like I've had some members who are on our teen advisory board who have started like a reading program, and they'll go and read to the younger kids, or some who have somewhat of a reading disability, and they'll sit down and they'll volunteer their time to help those younger kids, or someone who started doing, artwork or funds for military, or letters for the military on a annual basis or a monthly basis. It's amazing because they use those leadership skills, and they start their own little nonprofits that they get to help out with.
So if the public wants to use your volunteers, what can they do?
They just go on our website, lionsheartservice.org, and we have a drop down on our website that asks, you can request for volunteers. And then we have a volunteer service manager who handles all of those requests, and we just put it up there on our website. We also have everything on our website for all the members, and we do have an app that they can log their hours and they can look at volunteer opportunities. So, for example, if I'm visiting grandma in the Midwest for the summer and I want to volunteer somewhere in the Midwest, I can look in that parameter and see an opportunity there and serve right there.
So once a Lion's Heart, always a Lion's Heart.
Yeah, I guess so.
I love that. You should be on our
There's
marketing group.
new tagline.
You should be on our marketing team.
Well, thank you, Lion's Heart Teen Volunteers and Leaders Executive Director Cindy Williams, and one of its board members, Nelma Maddox, who is also a chapter president, for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Kamber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.